Hello and welcome to my channel. I am BeardedDev, bringing you another SQL tutorial, and in this video we're going to be looking at how to remove data from tables using common table expressions. I've jumped over to SQL Server Management Studio and I've got a basic create table statement here. So initially I'm just checking if the table already exists. If it is, we're going to drop the table. And then we're going to create a customers table with just first name, last name, date of birth and CityId in the table. We're not creating any primary or foreign key constraints in this table or these tables. We're also going to create a city table which is just going to contain CityId and the name of the city. We're then going to populate the city table, so I'm just inserting 4 rows into there with various cities within the UK, and then we're going to insert into the customers table. And what we're going to do here is simulate inserting duplicate values. So within this insert statement we can see that Tony Smith, we're going to insert him 3 times, and in fact we're going to insert each of our 4 customers 3 times. So I'm going to go ahead and execute that query now. So I have 4 rows affected into the city table and 12 rows into the customer table. I'm now just going to run a select from customers just to demonstrate the duplicate values we have in there. So we can see that Tony Smith is recorded multiple times, as are the other customers. Now what I'm going to do is we want to remove the duplicate values from this table. So how are we going to do that? We're going to create a CTE. So I'm just going to call that CTE for simplicity, and it's just going to be simply select all from our customers table. So with CTEs we are free to run our our statement within the CTE. So if I go ahead and execute that, we can see that we're getting the correct information back. Now what I'm going to do is use row number. So I'm just going to add in a row number statement to identify each row. We need to identify now where the duplicates actually lie within our table. So we're going to partition this table by all columns. So we're going to partition by first name, last name, date of birth and CityId. So that's all columns within the table. Under the common table expression, I'm just going to write a simple select that will select all values from the common table expression. Now, as we're using a CTE, we have to alias our new column. So I'm just going to alias that as R for simplicity here. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this query, and this is a common problem we'll see with row number. I thought it was worth mentioning this. So we are partitioning by all columns within this table, but we must have an order by clause. Now in this case, ordering by any column, it doesn't mean anything to us. So I'm just going to order by first name. It doesn't really have any relevance because each instance of each customer is exactly the same. So again, it doesn't really matter what we use within the order by. So I'm going to go ahead and execute that again. Just amend that there. So I'll go ahead and execute this query. And now we can see Matthew Wilkins has appeared on top, and he's got different values for R. So we have instance 1, instance 2 and instance 3, as we do with all of our customers. So I'll just hide the results grid now, and what we're going to be doing is deleting from this CTE. So we're going to change this up slightly to say we want to delete. In fact, I will just write this out as a select statement first of all. It's always better to write out your deletes as a select first of all, just to make sure you're deleting the correct data. So we're going to add a where clause in here, and we're going to say where r is greater than or equal to 2. We want to keep any rows where the value of r is 1, so the first instance of each customer. So I've just run that now, and we can see we've now got 2 instances of each customer, which are the rows that we actually want to delete. So I'm going to go ahead and change my select now to a delete. So we can see what we're doing here. Just to recap, we've got a common table expression. We're adding in a row number. We're partitioning by all columns in the table. We're ordering by first name. Doesn't really have any relevance to us as the columns are all exactly the same. We're giving that an alias of r. And then we're saying with our delete, we're going to delete from the CTE where r is greater than or equal to 2. And if we go ahead and execute that query now, we can see that 8 rows have been removed. So a common table expression doesn't actually store any data. Now what's happening here is something very clever. It's recognizing the table we're using, and it's going back to that table and removing the data from there for us. So if we run this select at the top again, so I'll just highlight this select statement, and we'll have a look at our customers table. We can see now we've only actually got 4 customers within our table, which is what we were looking for in the first place. So that's how we can use common table expressions to remove duplicate data from a table. Now this would be slightly different if we had primary keys within this table, an increase in the integer column, because then we could just use the minimum value and delete where it was not equal to the minimum value. So we could approach that a bit differently, or we could have approached it in the same way, but we wouldn't be partitioning by the primary key value because that would be unique for each customer that was inserted. Now we're going to have a look at something more advanced, which was what if we add in a join. So I'm going to comment out this select statement at the top first of all, and just hide my results script. So let's say we'll just alias our customers table as cust, just short for customer, and we'll just add that alias to each of our columns that we are partitioning by. And the reason we're doing that is because we're going to add a join within the CTE. So we're going to be joining to our city table, and we're going to join on cust.CityId equals city.CityId. Now we don't have the duplicate data in there at the moment, and we're just going to alias this select all to all columns from our customer table as well. So we don't have any duplicate data in there at the moment as we've just deleted it. Now we're going to go across to our original query, and we're going to run this query again. So we're going to, again, this is just checking if the tables exist. If they don't, if they do, it's dropping them and recreating them. If they don't, we're just going to create them. And then we've got our insert to insert the data. So we go ahead and insert that. And again, if we have a look at our customers table, we should now see there are 12 rows of customers. Each customer exists there multiple times. So now we've got our common table expression. Again, what we've done differently this time is added in our join to our city table. So within the common table expression, we're not actually referring to any columns within the city table. We're still partitioning by city ID, which is in the customer table. And we're going to go ahead and execute this query and see what happens. So we can see, because our CTE has got a join within it, we're actually presented with an error to say view or function CTE is not updatable because the modification affects multiple base tables. So what SQL Server is actually telling us here is I don't know which table you actually want me to delete the data from. So we can see there that CTEs are a good way to remove data from one table, but if we need to have joins to identify the rows that we need to remove, then we can't actually do that within a CTE. We need to explore other ways of doing that. And that error message actually stated that it's also the same within views as well. And that's an important consideration when removing data from a table. Quite often we want to remove data from a table depending on the values in another table, which we couldn't use a CTE for in this case. If we have a bug within the system that's causing duplicate values to be inserted, and we need to uniquely identify each row, then row number is very suitable. If we had primary keys, then we could write a select statement to say if it was a small amount of rows, we could actually identify the primary keys that it needed to delete. If it was a bit bigger, then we could just do a minimum on the primary key, and we only want to keep that row. I will also put these queries as in the description. So if you want to follow along with the video, which I've had some requests for, you can do so. So it's just a couple of simple tables that we'll be creating. You just need to have your own database set up in SQL Server. Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't already, do check out my other videos on the channel. There's lots of great content on there on business intelligence, data development, data analysis. Anything to do with data, I enjoy covering on my channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button to be made aware of when new videos are uploaded. Thanks a lot for watching.